My name is Tristan Grayford. I am a software engineer and an author living in Edinburgh. I started writing a few years ago, and my first book, Call of the Blackwing, was released last year in 2024. So I'm a software engineer in my day job. Like most authors, I do not earn enough for that to be everything I do, although that would be lovely. I really enjoy software engineering. It's problem solving as a job. And as part of that job, nowadays, that involves working with AI, which can filter through large amounts of data much quicker and more efficiently than we could. That is a net positive use case of AI. It is someone who is consenting to their data being used in order to benefit themselves. The flip side of that is, as an author, I found out recently that my work was swept into LibGen, which was then scraped in its entirety by Meta in order to fuel their AI engines. I was not asked whether my book could be part of this massive sludge for this AI, nor was I paid anything for it, and nor am I paid anything when they're paid for people to have access to the AI that was fed on my work. As an indie author who has to work a full-time job as a software engineer in order to afford to live, that is telling me that my work isn't worth anything. I got really angry about it because it is functionally mass theft which no one is doing anything about. And so I got in touch with my MP as an effort to try and nudge them in the right direction. And I was fortunate in that I actually had an MP who listened and decided to get a group of us from various different industries together to talk about it, and it was a united front on it. Every creator involved had exactly the same take. The only fair way to do this is opt-in. The only fair way to do it is to force these AI companies to actually obey the law, which at the moment they are ignoring with no sanction from the government. The only fair way for Gen AI to work is for anyone whose data is used in order to fuel it to be asked for their consent and compensated fairly for their work. That compensation has to match up with how much value that is actually for. If they had to ask for consent and compensate, they would have to match up to those tens of billions that they say that their tools are worth. If they don't do that, then what they are offering is a zero value for all art and creativity scenario, where every piece of art, every piece of literature that is fed into their system is literally worth nothing and should be replaced with what they produce, which is also worth nothing. That means that even in the long term, these Gen AI firms are setting up a scenario where everything they produce is also of no value. Everything they produce will be scraped by other AI firms to fuel their own engines without consent, without compensation. We can put ourselves in a situation where everyone gains from AI. But in order to reach that point, we need to make sure that it is compensated fairly, consented to, and regulated. We might end up in a situation where the concept of making money for art, being paid for your work, ceases to exist. This is a situation where it's not low-level artists that are under threat, it's every artist, every author, every creator, because it was their work which was stolen, taken without pay, without consent, to fuel these massive piles of sludge. And by doing so, reducing the value of their work for everyone to zero. That's not just indie creators, that's not just people starting out, that's everyone top to bottom. I think it's really important to understand a few things. One, Gen AI is not going to make art better. It can only make it worse. It can only produce the lowest common denominator stereotypes of what what art is meant to be. Two, Gen AI will never become a super intelligence that's going to take over the world. Anyone who tells you that is trying to distract you. It is not capable of it. All it can do is recognize patterns and tell you what it thinks you want to know. And the third thing that I think is really important for people to know is that art only exists if you value it. And Gen AI engines devalue art to be worthless. And if they are capable of doing that on the scale that they are doing so, what you'll quickly find is that no one wants art anymore. No one wants to be involved in art anymore, and you will end up not having art in your world. And that would be a huge shame.